O Allah, guide me among those whom thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what thou hast judged. Surely thou judgest, and none can judge against thee, and he whom thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art thou, O Lord, and exalted be thee above what they set up besides thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Greetings, supporters. Our new sponsor, Sister Sajdah Muhammad, through her jewelry company, is giving you a free sterling silver chain when you purchase your commemorative Elijah coin pendant. The link is in the bio. Peace and blessings, family. I wanted to personally invite you to join me on September 3rd, 2022 at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House from 3 to 7 p.m. We're going to be doing a fundraiser for the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House and enjoying these last few weeks of our warm weather. And guess what? It's my birthday. So come on out, scan here to RSVP.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace and blessings. I am so excited today. We are going to be talking to a brother who his family is near and dear to my heart. If any of you have had any connections with the show, the Black Muslim Business Directory, the work that I'm doing with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. This ain't her show, it's her father's show. But I just have to say, shout out to Sister Rahima. I'm so proud of her. She's gone off to college, but she's still going to be working with us. And I have to give her the accolades of being the most consistent and supportive of the workers and staff. I don't even call her staff. She's just family. And when I tell you she got me, she got me. She thinks 3 or 4 steps ahead. She's a good strategist. She pays attention. She studies. And so I just want to salute this Black man for producing this beautiful Black daughter along with his beautiful wife. And I thank y'all because I stole her. But anyway, we're going to bring the brother on. We're going to talk about his company is called Going Green HVAC. And we've had these conversations about this emerging market, the Black Muslim businesses that you need to know you should be doing business with. You should be investing in us. We are the hottest new emerging market right now in the world. So we're going to do a couple things really quickly. Real quick to let you all know about the Black Muslim Business Directory. We've been working through some technical issues. So if you're having technical problems, we just want to let you know we're working on getting them fixed because we now have advertisers that are interested in coming onto the site. So we'll be able to give you all more visibility. And then we're also going to be doing some events like some roundtable discussions and stuff like that. I'm excited. And so just thank you for your patience with us. I'll be back after this break, and then we're going to bring our brother on. Give us a second. So y'all check this out.
Muslims, you shouldn't be around here looking to white people to give you a job. Go look in message to the black man and the economic blueprint. And if there are 4 of you, 6 of you, 8 of you together, pool your resources, go into business and set up business all over the south and west side of Chicago. But if you poor and we poor, hell man, we can't be around here poor. I want to see rich Muslims. And if you obey Allah, there's no reason why you can't make a business successful. You just have to get up and stop being lazy and trifling and go do something for yourself.
See, y'all don't know we do real business over here with the Black Muslims. Y'all think we just round here on the corner selling oils and all kind of stuff. Let me bring my brother on. That's what they think, Brother Christopher. They think we out here just selling trinkets and oil, but we real business people. Assalamu alaikum, dear brother.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you again. Congratulations on Sister Rahima. Thank y'all for giving her to me. I appreciate it. So proud of her.
I want to thank you also because the experience she's had has been incredible, and it's given her some excellent tools that I think are going to prepare her for not just college life, but her entrepreneurship, hopefully, and business life in the future. So thank you. Well,
I told her I'm hanging with her. I got her. We're going to walk this journey together. And when she needs internships, whatever she needs, you know, I'm there. And so she has a forever auntie and mentor in me. So that's how it's a village, right?
That's the way it works. It's a village.
You know, Brother Christopher, when I saw your business, I was so excited because, you know, I built, along with my business partner, a micro hospital in Maryland. Mm-hmm. When we first started doing our clinics, I wasn't really up on the right types of HVAC system. So we would, and I think a lot of hospitals aren't either, because you know how you go in there and it stinks and you can smell the bacteria in the air. We would rehab these spaces we would find and zone them right and pop the clinic in there, but the air handling was never right. So when we decided to do the hospital, I said, no, we're getting this right. So we put all the sophisticated air handling equipment. We even have what they call we call it a Michael Jackson room, where it cleans all the antimicrobials out of the air. You literally can go in there and feel better. And so when I saw what you were doing, and I said, and I know you're doing it on a commercial and residential level, I was so excited to have you on the show and learn more about what you do. So tell us about Going Green HVAC.
Yes, ma'am. So Going Green HVAC, we do all aspects of HVAC. And of course, for those who don't know, I don't want to assume anyone knows what the acronym means, right? HVAC means heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And so we do all aspects of that, but we really specialize in designing systems, residential and light commercial systems, to the best optimal comfort standards and efficiency standards for customers. We had a lot of complaints from homeowners, and I've been in business for over 23 years now. And over that time, I've heard some consistent complaints, quality of air, but also temperature balance. That's probably one of the biggest complaints in homes. And so we try really hard to meet the emerging market, which is really a green market right now, moving away from appliances that eat up a lot of gas, a lot of electricity, and moving to more efficient equipment. And then we also, not just from the equipment side, if you're talking about a furnace or a boiler or a ductless unit, something like that, we also focus on being efficient and green when it comes to how we run and fabricate our ductwork, how we do our piping, because a lot of times the workmanship over the last 20 years, from what I've seen, is not always up to the best standards in terms of making sure that the clients have the most efficient piping systems, duct systems, and things of that nature. So that's kind of our niche. You know, we do a lot of rehabs with bungalows in the city of Chicago. I'm originally from Detroit, and so I have many years of experience there as well, which is very similar market, older homes, a lot of boilers. So we do boilers, but we also do a lot of rehab work when you want all new duct work in an existing home.
Yeah, like switching over from radiators to
forced air, I love boilers. I'm really, and there's a lot of ways boilers well. And some people prefer boilers as the type of heat because
I like boilers.
Yeah. There's not as many humidity issues. And of course, because you're dealing with water and you're dealing with steam. So we deal with all of that. But whatever the client's preference is, the advantage to forced air is, of course, you can add air more easily to that than you can if you have the boiler. You got to have a separate system.
We used steamed heating in the hospital.
Yes.
Because it helps with the moisture in the air, and sometimes you go into hospitals and they're very dry, and it just made it easier to clean the air.
Yep. And hospitals, it's funny you mentioned the hospitals are like it's so critical in hospitals. And it's interesting you would mention that because of the quality of air issue in hospitals, right? And of course, the COVID pandemic has caused people on a residential level now to be more concerned. We're seeing a lot of clients interested in UV lights and better air filtration, stuff like that. And so it's definitely a huge industry and a huge market.
And I think it's so appropriate that for you as a Muslim to be in that cutting edge piece of the HVAC market, right? Because I've done construction a lot, Brother Christopher, and I see these contractors just slapping these aluminum ducts up, and they all over the place and turning. No one's paying attention or even trying to make sure that it's the best use of air and where the air should be blowing and keeping things clean.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing is, I look at it like this: the skilled trades. If you look at a home, I look at a home as kind of like the human body or person, right? A lot of times we pay attention to the exterior, and you go into a home that's recently rehabbed. A lot of times you'll see beautiful finishes, right? You'll see beautiful countertops. You'll see beautiful baseboards. You'll see beautiful lighting fixtures. But then often what I found is that the mechanicals, the plumbing systems, and the electrical that you can't see, a lot of times not as much of that is attention to, when people are more concerned with the surface, and then later on they'll see, oh my God, I can't, I'm cold in this room. I'm too hot in this room. Oh, this light doesn't work. And so I look at it like how we treat ourselves as human beings sometimes. We're more concerned about the external rather than the character behind the external, right? And so that's often the comparison I make with clients, is that this is the most important thing, because that's going to determine, how long the home is going to last, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to determine whether you're going to have to do any major overhauls or rehabs to the house in the future. So I would just advise people, if you're going into a project, make sure you pay as much attention to those things you can't see behind it, right? Because what I do, it looks great when I'm doing it, but it's going to get covered up most times with drywall often, or walls. And so you won't always see the work we do, but it's very, very critical and very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I built a house in Maryland in 2014 or 15, and I never was happy with the way the air balance was in the house. In Maryland, it's pretty much vertical living. So it's 4 floors straight up. It's an elevator home. So they put 2 units in, but it just seemed like the air never got balanced. There were some rooms that were really warm, others that wouldn't get as much air. And so you had to overcompensate, like run upstairs and turn this one up or down. And so I think that's an important thing, because I assume that because I was dealing with a new builder and a developer, that they had it covered. Right. Had I been doing it myself, I would have put more thought into it and sit down and talk to the engineers. But I made the incorrect assumption that this is a new development. This is a big old house. They're gonna get it right, and they didn't.
Right. Yes, and there's a lot of people think that code standards, code ensures safety. It doesn't necessarily ensure that you're going to be happy with optimal efficiency and things of that nature. Code enforcement is just making sure a fire doesn't break out, right. Be a major flood, that the safety of people is taken care of. But beyond code enforcement, there's a whole level of standards that need to be looked at. And that's what we try to do. We're not perfect, and the whole industry is changing,
Right.
And so,
right.
So our motto is do HVAC better. And that's not something that's a competitive slogan. It's looking at the industry over the past 20 years and looking at how much energy's been wasted, right? Yeah. Looking at how much, and it's becoming more efficient. And that's really the way of the future. And it's very, very, very important.
Brother Christopher, how did you get into this field?
Yeah, so it's funny, right? So of course I'm based in Chicago, but I'm a native Detroiter, born and raised. And in 1998, I decided I wanted to get a trade, and it's funny because my wife is really the reason behind that. At the time, I wanted to get married, and I was in college. I wasn't decided on what I wanted to do yet, but I said, you know what? I love to build. I love to construct. And I initially wanted to go to possibly the trade school for carpentry. But I had a good friend of mine, Carlin, who was a friend still in shout out to Manny Mechanical in Detroit. And he said, I'm getting ready to go to school for HVAC. He said, why don't you come check this school out with me? So we went to check the school out, Northwestern Tech there in Southfield, Michigan. And then it really intrigued me, because at the time I wanted to go into chemical engineering initially. That was my first mind. And then I didn't realize how much the HVAC trade was connected to chemistry.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to trade school, it was a short program, about a year, and immediately started working for a Black company there in Detroit, and then worked for several other companies, and was in the business there full time. And it's funny because I'm also, I don't know if you noticed or not, I'm also a licensed teacher. So I'm also licensed as a history teacher.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Taught in CPS for the last 9 years, Chicago Public Schools, but I'm licensed as a history teacher and as a HVAC, CTE, which is what they call career and technical education instructor as well. So later on, I went back to college, and that's a whole nother story. But while I was in Detroit, I was in business full time and whatnot, and I had an opportunity to come to Chicago to get my master's in teaching. And that brought me here. So while I was teaching over the last few years, I restarted my business here in Chicago. And the last 4 years, I've just been, lining up everything and making sure that I didn't make the same mistakes, some mistakes that I made when I was there in Detroit early
Right.
on, business wise, right? And I've been looking at reading your book and going through a lot of the good points. So many of those things you mentioned in the book, I made mistakes early on, and I learned those lessons, took those hits, and decided that, I love to teach, but I also love my craft, right? And also
Yeah.
looking at the entrepreneurship side of things. And, my children, they get older, them to have some that they can, potentially come back and invest in. And as Raheem has 2 brothers, and it's not just to the skilled trades. There are a lot of women now that are very much getting involved in the skilled trade. So that's kind of the short end of it, and I never let, I keep my licenses in Michigan valid and renewed. I've licensed here in Chicago. And so I'm just looking to the future to be able to help rebuild our community. That's really the essence of it, rebuilding our communities. So, so that's it.
As I'm listening to you, Brother Christopher, what's coming in my mind is just nation building, rebuilding, and I'm so glad to have met you because, when I first reacquired the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the way they do these historic homes, because they really want you to give up and sell it to the Smithsonian or something. There's so many rules, and so I kept saying to myself, let me get through this, Allah, and then if we decide we're going to open a bed and breakfast, a hotel, doing some bigger projects, I want to be able to use people like yourself who then can start to specialize in these areas, like you have specialty in going green, and get you all those certifications so you can get some of those big tracks. So when they say, well, we need somebody that's done 3 or 4 previous historical landmark homes, I want to be able to say, okay, Brother Christopher, we got you on 2, let's get you on 1 other one. Because I have another project with all these museums that I'm working with that I'm going to talk to you about, because all we need is to get 2 or 3 of those under your belt, and then you become part of a database of a limited number of people that can actually do these types of homes. Part of what happens to us when we go into this type of work, these skilled trades, we're doing the rehab work, we're doing some of the smaller projects, but these big specialty projects, we don't have enough under our belt, and we kind of wonder why we don't get those contracts, because they make the rules and nobody's on the inside. And my thing is, if you read my book, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm here. I'm not a trophy. I'm bringing my people with me. If I got to be the Harriet Tubman of the Black Muslim business world, even if we're building another, even when it came to the hospital, you have to have people who have worked on healthcare facilities. And so that
it's very special.
It takes us out of the running. But inshallah, I'll be able to start to bridge that gap with people like yourself and put you on projects, and where I can say, no, he's on this project, and I don't have to worry about that. And then we can build you all up. So I'm just really grateful for what you're doing, the example that you are as a Black man, as a Muslim in business. None of this is easy stuff.
No. And, as you were speaking, I'm thinking about some of the hindrances we have in getting those types of projects. And one of the big things is having qualified. You hear this not just in the skilled trade market right now, but you hear it all across the board about there being a shortage of skilled workers, right?
Yeah.
And so education in the skilled trades is, oh my God, it's woefully low and inadequate. And so one of the things that I'm looking to do, and I have young apprentices with me that are working with me and looking at more. And shout out to Brother David, who's here in Chicago, also working on getting grade school, because most major cities in America, the public school systems eliminated much of the skilled trade training. I remember growing up in Detroit, every public school, neighborhood public school, you had what was called VOTEC, and you would go to those particular VOTEC learning centers to learn the different building trades. Here in Chicago, there was a huge skilled trades school called Washburn. Now, people know Washburn today to be a culinary school, but originally it was over on Kedzie, and I think it was 40, I forget what the cross street was. But Washburn was a huge skilled trades school that was funded by the unions, you know, and it had carpentry, it had sheet metal, it had electrical, all of these different trades. But of course, there's a history to that as well as to why they started to pull a lot of those programs out of the schools. And a lot of it had to, unfortunately, do with race and racism within the system, because in the early 80s, you saw a lot of those programs starting to accept more Black people in those programs. And unfortunately, you saw a lot of unions pull their support out of Washburn, and eventually Washburn closed. I think it was in the late 80s and the early 90s. And then many of the programs in the cities closed, where nowadays even most of your vocational programs in the schools, you know, and these are all great fields as well. I'm not knocking like the culinary and the barbering, right, and the cosmetology, but you'll find that the building trades have kind of been left out. But when you look at our community, I mean, how many abandoned homes do we have? How many buildings do we need that need rehabbing? Like, there's such a huge market, right, for that. The trade is very important, because when you talk about getting those contracts, coming back to your original point, I'm sorry, that's the history teacher coming out of me.
That's okay. No, I appreciate it. I'm learning, because as I was listening to you, I was thinking about, you mentioned Brother David, and I met Brother David through Michael Amir and Oasis, and we have been talking about sitting down to, and I want to say to you, you know, and say publicly, if there's a way that I can sit down with you and help you all build this trade school, this community, so that, what did the messenger say in the clip? We don't have to go anywhere but to ourselves. And if we educate, and these apprentice programs and young brothers and sisters coming out can work with you all, and we build up our own niches, where, again, like I said, we're an emerging market. So I would love to sit down with you all to see what I can do to help push and further along, you know, the educational piece that you're working on. But you go ahead on with your history lesson. I like it. I'm loving it.
No, I was going to say that's so important. My point is that education is the most critical, because when you start talking about doing larger contracts, most of your contractors, most of them are very small, okay? And when you start talking about accepting some of these larger projects, you got to have the manpower, and they have to be trained.
That's right.
They have to be trained in safety. They have to be trained in the crafts, various crafts that are needed to do high quality work. And so education is very critical to that. And you look at a city like Chicago, very large city, and I think there's maybe 2 or 3 electrical programs in all of the public schools that are here, right? Maybe, a couple of premier HVAC programs. You've got some carpentry here, some carpentry there, but it's not what it was in the 50s, in the 60s, right? Kind of at that. And that's why when you go in a lot of older homes, you'll look at the quality of work. I guarantee you, at Sajdah House, you know, and I haven't been in Sajdah House, but I guarantee you, if you look at the workmanship that was in that house, based on when it was built, there was a different level of workmanship that existed, you know, 50, 60 years ago. And it's starting to come back, and you're starting to see a lot of small contractors put more emphasis into really doing the craft the way it should be, where you don't cut corners, right? And it may cost a little bit more, right? But you get what you pay for. Like they always say, good work isn't cheap, and cheap work isn't always good. And we got to deal with that side of it too, right? It's kind of what, you know, and I've dealt with GC over the years as well, where it can't always be just the bottom line. It's got to be, how do we create facilities, homes, buildings that will be here, right? And will not need to have major overhauls in 10 years or 15, 20 years. Because I go into homes times that, rehab just 10 years ago, and they already need major stuff done, right? So it's just about increasing that education. You can't have that education, right, without training on the workforce. We have young Black men that are just ready, and many of them just need to be introduced to something. And you know, I didn't in public schools for the last 9 years, and I haven't always liked the narrative when it comes to college, the language, and this has become kind of part of the policy in the public school today, where college for everybody, which I'm okay with that, right? But the flip side to that is you hear it kind of said by educators and those who are in leadership. They'll say, well, he's not really cut out for college. He needs to just trade. But trades are kind of seen as
low.
You're not as intelligent, right? And it's not that at all. You have to understand math. You have to understand science on a very practical level. And so I kind of want to dispel that myth as well, that now there are people who learn different. And many of our young people, they may not get algebra sitting down in the classroom, right? Geometry lesson. But if they're like I do sheet metal fabrication, and the geometry I learned in high school using all the time.
Yes.
Right? And I would often hear students say, well, what am I going to use that for? What am I going to use history for? But they don't understand how learning is holistic, and so don't always look at it compartmentalized, but look at it that when you understand science in general, you never know how you're going to need it. And so we have to look at the skilled trades as being, vocational arts, just something that is you do with your hands. Because I think about Elijah Muhammad, great leader, great thinker, great writer, all of these things that people think of him as, but he was also at one time in his history, he was a foreman at Cherry Brick Company, and he worked at various factories and plants when he was in Detroit in those years prior to his calling, right? So he has also, and I don't know where this quote comes from, but I remember the minister saying at one point, and I hope I'm not misquoting, but I know it was something of this nature. And for any of the scholars that are on the line, they can maybe go in the comments and they can reference this quote. He said, "You love to see a man coming home dirty."
Yeah.
And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is something about, that side of things. And when you look at how he built businesses, understood not just from the quote unquote white collar side of things, right? But he also understood from the working man side of things, the so-called blue collar. What I try to do is kind of merge because they're, it's like the W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, right? They're sides of the coin. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan represent the merging of, because both are necessary. We need attorneys, we need teachers, we need all of that, thinkers, we need philosophers, but we also need plumbers, we need electricians, we need architects, we need, sheet metal craftsmen, we need all of these other things that go into that, and they're all working together. And so Booker T was focused more on the quote unquote blue collar side. W.E.B. Du Bois was more focused on the side, but both are necessary. And the minister has beautifully, pointed that out and made that very, very clear. So, so that's kind of where we're at.
I love that. I love your take on that, Brother Christopher, because what I also, and you know this, what I also help coach people with is what happens when we go to school and we learn trades, sometimes from the broader community. There's a mindset. So I know some people who are developers like myself who say contractors are synonymous with crooks. Well, that's just because the mindset, right, in the industry is I try to gouge, I try to get as much money for doing as little as possible. And I think the mindset that you and people like Brother David can usher in, and something that we can even assure people in the broader market when they hire us, is that that's not our philosophy. This is about quality work. It's about sustainability. It's about, giving you of equal or more value in service. So it's a different way of doing business that's not predatory, and it's always giving quality service and making you see how well we do business. Because one of the things I tell people all the time, don't forget that Master Father Muhammad came here selling, doing business. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, set the trade routes up, and many of those trade routes that existed long after he left became how Islam was spread throughout the land. And people would travel and say, you know what? I don't care. I want this. I'm going all the way to Chicago to talk to Brother Christopher because I trust him. I like the way he does business. And that's how you usher in a new way of doing things. People are usually only just doing what they've learned. They have this mindset of, I'm hustling. It's just about the money. I got to eat. I got to get paid. And it's really only because somebody told them that's how you do business.
Oh man, you know, all of what you're saying, it has so many thoughts in my mind as you're talking.
Yes.
It's beautiful, because what I've seen with contractors, you know, there was an old joke, right? That the first three letters of contractor is what? Con. Yeah. Of contractors not having character, integrity, things of that nature. But I'm gonna tell you what I found, and this is why you're so important, Sajdah, to this conversation.
Yes.
What I found with contractors is that most contractors, I bet you, if you did a poll, most of them were great plumbers, electricians, worked for another company. They probably got frustrated with that company or whatever the case may be, and they said, you know what, I can do this on my own.
Right.
But they never understood business.
Yes.
Right? They never understood pricing. And what I found with a lot of contractors is, the reason you have a lot of contractors that have that reputation for not finishing out projects, for example, right? That's something I always hear about, you know, someone who just left the job, you know, they got paid, but they never finished it or whatever. A lot of times it's not for the reasons we often think. It's not just because they're out trying to chase money. The reason they're chasing money is because they probably did not properly estimate that job.
That part.
What I found is that a lot of times contractors will underbid themselves or they're estimating it wrong, and then they'll wind up underwater, just like being under mortgage, right? Where you walk away from the mortgage because the value's not there. So a lot of contractors will discover, oh my God, I didn't anticipate this. I didn't anticipate that. From a business standpoint, overhead, right? Paying people to that nature. And most contractors don't know business. They don't know how to price. They don't know how to create systems. And so because of that, they're not able to really give a job the integrity it deserves, where they can be there, because, you know, survival is the first law of human nature. You got to survive. And so, you know, most contractors are hand to mouth. You know, so you get a conversation about credit and things of that nature, and capital and all of that. So there's a huge conversation to have, and that's why the work you're doing around entrepreneurship is so, because it was those business lessons that I failed in when I was in Detroit that I had to learn, and it took me years to really study. And I'm not there yet, but it's definitely, I don't have the same mind that I had then. Definitely learning from a business standpoint how to operate in a way. The trade I got, like, I believe I'm one of the best that you're going to find in the craft, you know, HVAC, whether it's residential or light commercial. You know, I'm not worried about that. What I'm thinking about now is helping to train up another generation, you know, depositing into them what I've been blessed to learn, and then also hoping to become stronger on the business side of things, right? So,
you know, it's you mentioned something that I talk about a lot, is taking people from being a technician to a business owner. You get that a lot with attorneys. Like, they're a great attorney, and then they say, I'm sick of this firm, I want to open up my own thing. I'm a great plumber, I'm sick of this, I want to open my own thing. But and it happens with doctors, it happens with a lot of people. They just don't quite know how to move from technician to being a business owner. And that's a process. And I think that with our businesses coming up, we can offer that type of transition, that type of mindset to our business owners, so that we are out there doing business in a way, and we're not stressed out and struggling because we underbid, or we just are, you know, like you said, hands to mouth, and we don't know how we're going to make it. So we get desperate and just try to figure out how to survive, because that's really what happens to a lot of people. They stay in survival mode And and then we create all these cliches around survival mode, right? I got to survive. I got to eat. I got to get the bag. That's all because you're in survival.
It's all real. Can't leave that one out. It's all real, right?
That's right. That's all because you're always in survival mode and you just don't really know how to go about getting money in any other way. And that's where we come in as Muslims. Brother Christopher, I want to, in the last few minutes we have, find out, how do people, if they want to bring you in for their businesses, if they got systems they want you to come and evaluate before the winter, how do they reach you so that they can hire you?
Sure. So they can call, right? So our number 773-357-6265. The website
37.
Yep, 773-357-6265. I have clients that will book directly from the website. So if they go to Going Green HVAC, they can click on schedule an appointment. They can enter, even if they just want an estimate on a project, they can enter their preferred time of an appointment, and then we'll follow up with them to try to set that appointment up. So goinggreenhvac.com. Those are the two best ways right there.
Are there any type of services you do? Like, let's say if people just want to have their system evaluated, it's fall, winter is coming. That's a great service, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, we do a basic $95 fall startup. We would come out, we assess your equipment, we clean your furnace and or your boiler. Depending on the type of boiler, that price could vary depending on the size and all of that. And then we test it. We do a combustion analysis to make sure that it's safe. And, we operate with integrity. We're not the type of contractor that's just going to say, oh, you need a new furnace because you need a new furnace, right? We're going to tell you, I had a client the other day, another company told them they needed a new furnace, and I didn't have that assessment. Even though it was about 15 to 20 years old, I told them, listen, you might want to start thinking about replacing it, but I don't see anything right now that requires it. So we try to be honest and give people, an honest assessment, and then they can decide what they want to do at that point,
I think that's so important because especially if people come to your house, they see you got a big house or something, they start going, oh, you got to replace all of this and it's $35,000 and all of this. And it's like, come on now, And I think having a relationship with somebody like yourself who can start with doing the evaluation and the maintenance on their systems. So then it's a trusted relationship, right? So then you can go ahead and get it installed and set it up for them later on down the line if they don't need it at this time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love it. Yep.
Anything else you want to say? Any other history you want to give us in the last 15 minutes? I'm enjoying your history conversations.
No, it's it. I mean, I would just say that I'm really excited. Going Green is really broader than this company. It's about finding healthier, better ways to live. And so for us, it's like, why would you invest so much? We invest so much in our home where we're there so much, right? We eat, we sleep there. Why would we not want to be comfortable, right, in a place? And why would you tolerate, you've invested so much in a home or a business or a hospital or whatever, and people aren't comfortable, right? So just take the time to invest in it. And we can do our best to try to meet that need, but it's bigger than just the trades, it's education. And I would encourage any young people listening to this to look at the skilled trades. It doesn't have to be HVAC. It could be carpentry. It could be electrical. It could be plumbing. It could be bricklaying. All of these are crafts in and of themselves, and they go back thousands of years, right? So that's the other side. I would just say that we look at these things as if, this is something new, but you had plumbers, going back to ancient Africa and ancient Greece and various ancient civilizations. We've had to have plumbing. You're always going to have plumbing, right? And electricity is here. It's here. It's something that we need. So I would say if you invest in these things that are necessities of life, food, clothing, shelter, right? If you form any business around those, I would argue you're always going to be successful. You position yourself properly. You operate with integrity. And you really have a niche and become very, very good at what you do. You'll always have business. So food, clothing, and shelter,
You're speaking the language of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's economic development plan, because he said focus on the needs of the people, you know, what the necessities are. And one of the things that I've been really emphasizing to people is that, yes, there's those necessities, food, clothing, shelter, like what you're talking about. Now we have a whole thing around data. And so the one last thing I was going to ask you is, how has the changes in technologies allowed you to create a new market? Like, I have an app where I can turn on my heat or turn the heat up and down and make certain adjustments. How has data or technology impacted your business and some of the services that you offer?
Incredibly. Like, I can't explain, like, I can't even remember how I used to function in the business years ago. We didn't have smartphones. So I'll say this, documenting your work, right? You used to have an old school camera, take a picture of it, and then create like a portfolio. Yep. Now you can do very, very quickly. You're able to use Instagram and things of that nature. I would say the quality is getting better, because even though some of it online can be negative, where people on others' work, right? Oh, he did that way, or he did that this way. It's allowing exposure to different little tips and tricks that contractors and other craftsmen have, where the learning is increasing very quickly as well. So I'm finding that even me with over 20 years experience, just me sometimes with other contractors and other people in the business, I'm like, oh, he did it that way, right? And they're learning some things from me, and it's just it creates a community where you're able to get so much quicker and so much faster. Communicating with clients. You know, I do all of my invoicing digitally, right? So when we come out to a project, it used to be I had stacks of paperwork in the truck. You know, you have to give them all of it comes right to their email. When I give them quotes, it comes texted right to their phone. Sometimes not even some people don't even more, right? They like, it's a text link. So invoice, quotes all come right to their phone. They click on it, they're able to see it, pay the bill right there on their phone. So it's tremendously convenient now to do things, but you have to kind of create systems and use tools now to make it useful to your advantage.
Yeah, you went right where I wanted you to go, because I always teach entrepreneurs, make it easy for people to pay you. Make it easy for you to communicate with them. Create a system. And so even I remember when I bought my new house in Chicago, I was so impressed with the inspector, because they had this whole portal, and I could just click on their evaluation of every component in the inspection and see it. And they allow me to use that portal. I can use it for maintenance now moving forward, because you can just, you know, keep up with it. So I'm glad to hear that. And I think that a lot of people like that. Folks are busy. So not only are we as Muslims good at the trades that we do, but we are down to the modern times. And what does that mean in terms of using technology in order to communicate the results of those services, the quotes, allow you to pay your bill more easily, and all of that kind of thing.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Brother Christopher. Please, let's stay in touch, and let's sit down and have that conversation, you know, maybe with Brother David, and figure out how do we push this forward. Because as I'm building this whole Black Muslim business directory, I want to offer a component where we have classes and things like that will be feeders for what it is that you all do.
Yes, man. I'm down. You got my number. You got.
You know I know how to reach you.
You got a straight line.
Yes.
But anytime, any way I'll be of service, let me know. And yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate. Thank you for your service to our nation. Thank you for your wonderful family, and just thank you for being an upstanding Black man.
And thank you so much for all that you are doing and will do.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you all. That was my Brother Christopher. I told y'all we some powerhouses over here in this new emerging market. And this is a market that you want to get with, you want to learn from, you want to have people to come out, you want to do business with us, because we will combine that technology and that talent together, but we're going to do it for you in a conscious way. And if your project is difficult, if your project is one that other people, because let me tell you what happens. I'm going to say this before we go. A lot of times when you have a difficult project, People think that they have to rip you off in order to get the project done. When you bring on somebody like Brother Christopher and Going Green HVAC, when you do that, what you're doing is you're bringing somebody in who's going to think with you, who's going to help you think and figure out what is the best way to get this project done. And if you have an idea of your mind on how it needs to be done, these are people that will work with you. So make sure that you hire us, make sure you bring us, you come on board with us and stay in touch. Okay. So with that, I am going to remind you all about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. I got some updates. I'm going to probably talk about it Saturday on the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talk on the last few weeks where I've been, some of the things that I've learned. And just as it's starting to evolve and come into my head, I'm really learning and understanding what Allah is saying. But listen, let me tell you something. We must get up and we must do something for ourselves. And if you have questions on how to do that as a Muslim, contact me. You can find me on all the social media platforms. You can find me on Instagram at MOEToday Universe. That's MOEToday Universe. You can find me on Facebook at Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. You can find me, you can email me at mindofanentrepreneur@gmail.com. But do not give up on your business. Do not give up on the instruction because you just can't figure out how to do it. Set up a coaching and consulting session with me, and I will help you figure out how you can do for self and start to climb out of the shackles that have been on us, primarily the spiritual shackles that are on us, and some of the myths associated with us as Muslims in business. And I can show you how to do it. I have receipts. I've done it. And I'm going to tell you these teachings work. All right. So last thing, make sure you get your commemorative Elijah coin. You get a free chain if you order now. They are limited. And I think that's it. So thank you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you, inshallah. No MOEToday manifestation class tomorrow. I have a project I'm working on. I have to take a trip. But look, we're still raising money. We're still moving forward. And Saturday morning, we'll be back at it. Make sure you register for the 24 karat No. It's 24 karat donate and sip. That's what it is. It's a fundraiser and birthday celebration for me. I never celebrate myself. A lot of friends are telling me, you should celebrate yourself more. I'm going to start doing just that. And I'm going to start doing it with this upcoming birthday. So September 3rd, we're going to be at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. We're going to do fundraiser and birthday celebration. I'm going to take advantage of this nice weather. Come and network. We have a really good group of powerful people in a circle that we're building, millionaires, politicians, business people, spiritual people. So come network, come to the house, and we're just going to raise some funds and have a good time. All right. Peace and blessings, family. I'll stop rambling and I'll talk to y'all soon. Assalamu alaikum.